The salvage runner drifted through the ruins of Sector 7 Delta, her sensors lighting up on the faint glow of a lone escape pod. 6 hours had passed since its emergency beacon had gone dark. Jax Ma, human pilot and scavenger, wasn't supposed to be here. Outer debris fields were safer, predictable. But his navigation system had glitched during a solar flare, tossing him into a forbidden area where ships disappeared without trace. The wreckage spread over kilometers, remnants of a once mighty Imperial cruiser. The hull markings made his stomach drop. Crimson Talon, flagship of the 3rd Imperial Fleet, supposedly destroyed weeks ago in a syndicate ambush. No survivors. Yet, life support was still running. And curiosity, that stubborn human flaw, pushed him closer. The pod's hatch had been sealed from the inside, the emergency locks engaging in a pattern unfamiliar to him. For 20 minutes, hands trembling, he bypassed them. A hiss of pressurized air and he saw her, crumpled against the wall, silver hair matted, her pale face illuminated by starlight streaming through the viewport. A blade wound marred her side, cauterized but infected. Her breathing was shallow. And her eyes, golden, vertical pupils, catching the podlights like a predator. Jax froze. He had seen those eyes before, in every Imperial broadcast, every wanted poster. Empress Valeria. The butcher of Kepler Prime, responsible for the deaths of millions of human colonists. And she looked directly at him. "Human," she whispered, weak. "You shouldn't be here." Instinct reached for his plasma cutter, but a commandless force in her voice stopped him. She was not surrendering. She was not giving up. Her hand moved to her wound. This was no crash injury. It was precise, surgical, designed to sever her neural cluster. An assassination attempt. "Who did this?" he asked, swallowing the fear. "Malakar, my son," she said, voice strained. Jax felt the weight of her words. The son of a monster, now attempting worse than his mother's conquest campaigns, the extinction of humanity. She explained the purification protocol. Fleets hidden in the void, bioweapons aimed at human colonies, coordinated to annihilate millions. 3 days ago, she had discovered the plans. Confronting Malakar, she was betrayed and left for dead. "Why tell me this?" Jax asked. "I'm nobody. Just a salvage runner. I expect you to survive. Because when he finds out I'm not dead, he'll come for you too. You know too much." The alarm screamed. 3 Imperial cruisers dropped from hyperspace, their weapons locking on. "Can you move?" she asked. Jax ran to the cockpit while Valeria, still wounded, dragged herself to the co-pilot seat. His ship, never built for combat, became their lifeline. He cut the main power, letting them drift among debris, hiding their heat signature. The cruisers scanned, systematic and patient. "Humans," Valeria muttered, assessing him. "Insane. Sometimes insanity is exactly what's needed." 17 minutes of tense navigation followed. Jax maneuvered the runner through gravitational eddies, narrowly avoiding chunks of wreckage, Imperial scanner beams passing meters from their hull. They punched the hyperdrive seconds before plasma cannons would have torn them apart, emerging safely above Heaven's Rest, neutral space where questions weren't asked and credits bought silence. "We need allies," Valeria said. "People who will act against Malakar. You're the Empress. Can't you order them?" "I'm officially dead. Any official contact would report to him. But there is another way. My daughter, IRA, hidden among humans." She had sent Lyra to live on a human colony, shielding her from Imperial politics. Jax's mind reeled. A secret princess, raised to heal, untainted by war, now a potential unifier against Malakar's genocide. Jax traveled to New Eden, a colony alive with color, chaos, and humanity at its best. Lyra worked in a medical clinic, her hair silver-masked, eyes soft brown. She didn't know her mother or her true lineage. Jax had to tell her carefully, showing DNA proof, encrypted messages, schematics of the purification protocol. Lyra's world shattered. Horror, denial, grief, but beneath it, determination. "What do you need me to do?" she asked, fire in her chest. Valeria had chosen well. Compassion shaped Lyra, where power had shaped Malakar. Same blood, different path. For 3 months, they worked in secrecy. Human leaders, skeptical at first, found themselves listening to Lyra. Imperial dissidents rallied to her cause. Valeria remained hidden, healing and advising from shadows. The galaxy still saw her as a monster, but she had chosen redemption. Jax watched the preparation, still a salvage runner, still a witness, not a hero. Lyra, now confident in her role, began uniting humans and sympathetic Imperial forces. When the fleets finally clashed at the Battle of Threshold, it was not just ships, but ideals and choices on the line. Human ships fought beside defectors. Old enemies, united against a common threat. Malakar's flagship was crippled. Lyra offered surrender one last time. He laughed, triggering self-destruct. The purification protocol ended with him. Humanity survived. After the battle, Jax found Valeria in his medical bay. She watched news feeds of celebration across human colonies. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" By the end of the first day, the Imperial remnants were in disarray. Several cruisers had been disabled, and key officers captured. Lyra had proven her leadership, her ability to unite humans and aliens alike. But she knew the real threat still remained: Malakar himself. Intelligence reports confirmed his location. He had retreated to the Iron Spire, a heavily fortified system on the fringe of known space. There, he had gathered the last of his forces and prepared the Purification Protocol's final strike. If they did not act swiftly, countless human worlds would be destroyed. The journey to Iron Spire was tense. Lyra and her team moved in secret, avoiding Imperial patrols, navigating asteroid belts, and dodging mines left in the wake of fleeing fleets. Jax, ever resourceful, patched together stealth drives and shield modulators from scrap. When they reached Iron Spire, the system was a fortress. Malakar's flagship floated at the center, surrounded by smaller vessels bristling with weapons. Sensors picked up energy signatures consistent with bioweapon deployment. The clock was ticking. Lyra convened her council. "We cannot outgun him," she said, voice steady. "But we can outthink him. We'll use the nebula's interference to approach unnoticed, and we'll target the command systems first. If we disable his fleet from within, we save millions." The plan was risky. No human fleet had ever penetrated Iron Spire's defenses. Yet, as always, they relied on human adaptability. Small attack teams slipped past sensors, boarding ships, disabling systems, and relaying data back to the flagship. Jax led one of the teams, slipping through ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels to plant charges on critical reactors. His heart pounded with adrenaline and fear. One wrong move, one misstep, and it would be over. Inside Malakar's flagship, Lyra confronted her brother. He was as she remembered from stories. Tall, imposing, eyes cold as void. "You're too late," he sneered. "Everything you value will burn." Lyra's hands rested on the control panel. "Not today," she said firmly. "You can't extinguish choice. You can't extinguish humanity." Malakar attacked, but Lyra was not alone. Valeria, appearing through a hidden boarding conduit, engaged him in a brutal hand-to-hand fight. Centuries of combat experience clashed with Malakar's raw power. Yet he underestimated Lyra. Using her human intuition and strategic thinking, she manipulated the ship systems, redirecting energy to critical points, cutting off power to his weapons and shields. The final confrontation was swift and decisive. Malakar, cornered and enraged, triggered his ship's self-destruct, hoping to take Lyra and the human fleet with him. But Lyra's quick thinking and her team's precise coordination allowed them to escape, ejecting key sections of the ship before the explosion consumed the core. Iron Spire was in ruins, but humanity was alive. The Purification Protocol had been stopped. Malakar's threat ended. Lyra looked out at the burning wreckage, her heart heavy but resolute. She had lost many, but countless lives had been saved. Valeria approached her, placing a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "You've done what I could not. You've saved them all." Lyra shook her head. "No. We did it together. Humans, defectors, even you, your guidance was the difference." Jack stood nearby, watching the exchange. The salvage runner who had stumbled into this mess months ago now felt a quiet pride. He had helped save the galaxy, in ways no one could have predicted. The aftermath was a time of rebuilding. Lyra worked to unite the colonies into a coalition capable of defending themselves. Imperial defectors helped establish new governance systems, ensuring no one could again seize power for pure cruelty. Valeria remained in the shadows, healing and advising, her redemption ongoing, not for glory, but because she could. Jax returned to his ship, drifting through sectors that were once his quiet home, but now filled with stories of heroism and sacrifice. He visited debris fields, salvaged remnants of the battles, and chronicled them, ensuring that the memory of the struggle would not fade. One evening, Lyra visited the viewing deck of the flagship, looking at stars that stretched across endless space. "What now?" Jax asked, standing beside her. She smiled softly, her eyes reflecting hope and determination. "Now, we protect what we've saved. Now, we ensure that compassion, choice, and humanity guide the galaxy." Valeria joined them, standing quietly behind. "Humans, you taught me something I could never learn as an empress. Strength is not just in fear or conquest. It's in choices. And the universe is stronger because of it." Jax laughed quietly. Typical human. Valeria's lips curved in the faintest of smiles. Stubborn like that. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still conflicts, scars, and dangers. But for the first time, hope stretched beyond the debris fields, the wrecked fleets, and the burned worlds. Hope stretched across humanity, guided by choices, compassion, and courage. And somewhere in the vastness of space, a salvage runner smiled, knowing that he had been part of something larger than survival. He had been part of a galaxy that would remember humans not for their wars, but for their stubborn, unshakable belief that life, in all its forms, deserved a chance. The last empress, the hidden princess, and the human who never left a pod behind had changed the course of history. And in the silence of the stars, that change would echo forever. For not leaving me in that pod. Any other species would have. Humans, you helped. You see a wounded creature and help, even if it makes no sense, Jax said. Even if it might kill you. That's your gift. Valeria stood slowly, favoring her wounded side, and gazed at the stars. What will you do now? Jax asked. Disappear. I'll watch from a distance, see if she succeeds where I failed. And you? My quiet life in the debris fields isn't over yet, Jax said. Someone has to remember why we fought. Valeria smiled. Genuine, rare, human-like. Typical human, she said. Stubborn like that, Jax agreed. Lyra stood on the bridge of the rebuilt human flagship, her brown eyes burning with purpose. The galaxy had been spared, but the threat was not gone. Imperial remnants loyal to Malachar still lurked in the shadows, spreading fear and chaos, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Beside her, Valeria watched from the shadows of the bridge, her golden eyes reflecting both pride and pain. She had survived, yes, but her past actions had left scars across countless worlds. Redemption, she realized, was not a single act, it was a lifetime of choices. And for Lyra, that journey was just beginning. The first order of business was unifying the human colonies. Lyra moved quickly, traveling from system to system, listening to leaders, healers, miners, and pilots. Everywhere she went, she carried proof of Malachar's plot, encrypted schematics, intercepted transmissions, and eyewitness accounts from defectors who had abandoned the Imperial fleet. Her dual heritage, Imperial blood, human upbringing, made her a bridge no one could ignore. Some colonies welcomed her. Others were skeptical. After all, the mother who had once ordered planetary bombardments loomed over their history like a shadow. But Lyra did not falter. She spoke not as a conqueror, but as a healer, a human, someone who understood loss and pain. Meanwhile, Jaxmar worked tirelessly behind the scenes. His skills as a salvage runner had become unexpectedly valuable. He repaired ships damaged in skirmishes, smuggled messages, and scouted enemy patrols. What had once been a quiet life in debris fields had turned into a dangerous game of espionage and survival. The first major confrontation came at the Nebula Verge, a strategic passage that controlled the flow of traffic between multiple human colonies. Intelligence suggested an Imperial strike fleet loyal to Malachar had gathered there, planning to cut off human reinforcements. Lyra and her council devised a plan. They could not match the Imperial fleet in sheer firepower, but they had something Malachar underestimated: human ingenuity and unpredictability. Using small, agile ships, they would weave through the nebula, taking advantage of natural energy storms to mask their movements. The battle began quietly. Sensors flickered with interference from nebula storms, the eerie glow of ionized gas illuminating the void. Lyra's flagship moved deliberately, coordinating attacks and feints. Jax piloted a scout ship, slipping past enemy lines to relay critical intelligence. Suddenly, an Imperial cruiser emerged from the nebula, weapons charged. Lyra's ship dove into the storm, using gravitational eddies to dodge plasma fire. Another cruiser fell into the trap, colliding with a drifting asteroid, its hull tearing open in a flash of fire. The fleet was chaotic, but Lyra's forces exploited every weakness. In the heat of the battle, Valeria revealed herself on the tactical console. Her experience, honed over centuries of war, became invaluable. She directed human and defected Imperial units with precision, showing them how to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast a superior enemy. "Humans are stubborn," she said to Lyra over comms. "But sometimes stubbornness is stronger than steel." Lyra smiled faintly. "Sometimes it's all we have."